your strap and we up. Never forget all the memories. Sitting, I sit by my cup, thinking I should be a better me.
And we are live.
How's it going, guys? It's me, Brendan Matula.
And I'm Thomas Hicks. Guys, it is the season finale of the pop culture section of season 2. It's a huge night. We've got 4 big things to talk about, as well as a little news snippet, and then a little trinkets here and there. But this is an incredible episode to end off the season. So we're not going to waste your time. We're just going to get right on into it. You know how it goes. But before we do anything, you guys already know we are very grateful for you guys. So as always, we start all of our episodes off by saying thank you.
Thank you guys so much just for being dedicated to us this season. We really grew this season. That's something we're definitely proud about, and we're going to definitely try to utilize our time off because, as y'all know, we take a week break after the end of our season, just to look back and see what we can improve on, and also look at our strengths. And I think we definitely acquired new strengths as we went through this new season. So we are very proud of that, but we couldn't have done that without y'all. So thank you guys so much. We will get y'all details about season 3 coming soon. We will get to y'all as soon as possible on Instagram.
Yeah.
Details of that matter. But for now, let's go ahead and finish this season 2 pop culture well. Let's do it well. That was a mouthful. But we got this. I'm excited. And we ended up waiting an extra day, kind of like we did last week. But this time we waited because Tommy got an early screening of yet another movie. Tommy's just coming in clutch with these early screenings. Tommy, what movies will we be covering today? Because it's October's coming to an end, and October was absolutely a big month and lived up to the hype.
Yep. Yeah, thanks, Brandon, for all those words. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. You really hit the nail there. I got last minute early screening of Last Night in Soho. I think this film is already out overseas. If not, there's just a few like people who got an earlier screening than I did. A very small handful. Other than that, I'm pretty sure it comes out nationwide, at least here in the US of A. This Friday the 27th. 27th, 28th. Yeah, so I got an early screening to Last Night in Soho. And then this was planned, but I also got an early screening to the French Dispatch, which was out in some smaller theaters, but it will be out nationwide on the 28th as well. So I got 2 early screens for that. And then you guys know last week I got an early screening to Dune, which Dune has just grown. I don't know if you've seen, I don't know if it's all over your feed, Brandon, but like Dune it's been popping off. It's been living up to the hype. So yeah, I got to see Dune early, which was confirmed that there would be a part 2, which is awesome. Kind of knew it was coming, but was a little nervous too because of the box office. But yeah, it's been, I mean, honestly, like, I don't get emotional. Never been emotional on the show, and I won't get emotional, I'm sure, for a long time. But it is emotional from like saying goodbye to a friend, and saying goodbye to a friend that you knew was only going to be in town for a couple of days. Because, guys, on our very first few episodes, we talked about the powerhouse of October, how big October is going to be for film. It's going to be a benchmark for theater releases, not only post-pandemic, but just ever. And man, it did not disappoint. I have loved every single film that I have seen in the month of October. And there's a few that were just okay, but I really couldn't give you a bad film that came out in October. So let's get right on into it. Last Night in Soho came out tonight at 7 for my early screening. So if any of you other guys that are watching this that if any other critics are seeing this and you guys got an early screening, make sure to DM us. Let us know what time you watched it. I'm actually curious to see if they all release at the same time. But that's more of a general thing. But yeah, it came out at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock on the dot. The silver screen was lit, and I was watching the film. So this stars Thomasin McKenzie. She's in films like Jojo Rabbit and recently Old, M. Night Shyamalan's Old. And then Anya Joy Taylor, who was in The Witch, and she's been in a lot of films, honestly. Anya Joy Taylor, but she was the lead in The Witch, and that's probably the best introduction to her filmography. The Witch, basically two very young, close to our age, sort of, but a little bit older than us, but still fairly close. Young female leads in this film, so that was exciting. As well as Matt Smith. He was the third lead kind of in this film, so that was pretty cool. He's in The Crown. But that's just that's who was in the film. So Last Night in Soho. It's directed by Edgar Wright. He did Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's a very fun film. And he also did Baby Driver.
Wow.
Which a lot of people have seen. Yeah, and then he did. He's very big on British comedy, so he also did Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
Those kind of ring a bell. But Edgar Wright he doesn't have a whole lot of films, but most of his films are pretty well praised. Like he doesn't really have any misses. So Last Night in Soho, is it a miss, or is it one of those films that's gonna go down as just Edgar's legacy? In this film, it was awesome. It was incredible. I love Last Night in Soho. And I was sitting there in the theater and I was like, because this was advertised as a thriller, if you saw the trailer and even the poster, it was kind of advertised as a thriller, but it was kind of a slasher and it was kind of a horror film, but it was also kind of a comedy and a romance and a mystery and a noir film. So it was like it was a little bit of everything. This film, yeah, it was really neat. I really liked that a lot. I mean, if you're whatever, fan, whatever genre you're a fan of, Last Night in Soho delivered, and I was very, very happy to see a film like that in the theater, especially post pandemic when we were kind of at maybe a crossroads is a good word for innovation as far as filmmaking goes. A lot of adaptations, a lot of live remakes. I'm looking at you, Disney. That just weren't doing very well. There was no innovation. There was no
just carbon copies, really.
Yeah, it just wasn't fresh in the film world. That's a good word. It just wasn't fresh. But Last Night in Soho brings in a breath of fresh air, and it was awesome. I've never seen a film like this. Edgar Wright wrote the screenplay for it. As for flaws, there were some ideas that didn't. It's not that they didn't stick because I understood them, but I didn't quite see how it fit with the narrative. And then also the film felt a little long. The pacing was incredible for the whole film. So the pacing's not the issue. It's just that the film, I was like, when I got done with the film, I was like, okay, that part didn't have to be in there. You could have chopped it down to maybe 10, 15 minutes less, but everything that was in the film was gorgeous, and I loved everything that was in the film. Like, it was nice. It just wasn't necessary is what I'm trying to say. But man, this film was awesome. It was a breath of fresh air. I'm not going to give you the plot because it's just one of those films you got to go into blind because it's just a WTF kind of film. But it's really fun. It's kind of like a teen drama in a sense. A very warped and twisted teen drama, and I'm a sucker for teen dramas. Mid 90s, 8th grade, Lady Bird, Edge of 17. So if you're a fan of those films, you got to see this one. But if you're just a fan of film in general, you got to go see Last Night in Soho. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's just a breath of fresh air in the film world. It's a new, innovative movie, and it just stuck, man. And I'm so happy, proud of Edgar Wright, and I'm so blessed to be able to see this early because it was my most anticipated of the year after The Green Knight. This and Licorice Pizza. So this film it definitely lived up to the hype. It wasn't horrible at all. On a grading scale, I give it an A-. Give it an A- because of those two flaws. But other than that, like, this is definitely a film I'm getting the first day the Blu-ray drops because it's one that you gotta watch every year on Halloween. It's one of those films you just watch with the family or with friends. Man, so many great ideas introduced in this film, and I loved it. So Last Night in Soho gets an A-. It's a great film.
Nice.
It's just once again, I sound like a broken record, but a breath of fresh air, which is so rare in cinema nowadays. But yeah, that was Last Night in Soho. So let's get into the next topic here. You, season 3.
The Netflix series, not just you.
The Netflix series. Not just you, true. It is spelled Y-O-U, so spelled normally. But yeah, You, season 3. And I was not planning on watching this, but I wanted to, as you guys know, I wanted to visit Brandon in Dallas. And he didn't make is not the word. He didn't make me watch it, but he was like, I want to watch this. You can either watch it with me or you can do your own thing. And I was like, okay, I'll sit in for a few episodes, see what's up. Man, let's talk about You, bro, because it was what okay. I'm gonna let you go. You guys just heard me kind of go on a spiel about Last Night in Soho, so I'm gonna let Brandon go first on this one, and I'll obviously tag team with him. But Brandon, like, first couple of thoughts. What are you thinking about You season 3?
Man, one thing that I gotta say is that it was kind of slow at the beginning, and midway through the season was pretty slow for me. It was really fast at first, like things got really dicey at the beginning.
That's true,
as we know, and then it got kind of slow towards the middle. Nothing really that exciting, and they were kind of desperate on some some plots.
Yeah,
as we discussed together. But oh my gosh, the end was so
wild,
so good, and it's so good because once again, it is original. Yes, Joe. And spoiler alert, sorry. Like,
right?
It's been a few weeks now, y'all. So we gave y'all time to watch it. So if you don't want to listen to this, go back, watch it, and come back here. But Joe gets away again.
Yep.
And he's done it in a different way every single time. And it's not like Dexter, where it's like completely predictable. Because
I have not seen Dexter, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Because, Dexter is a similar story. Dexter is a story about, like, an actual serial killer, while Joe is, yes, by term, a serial killer, but more so a psychological abuser.
Right.
That's a better terminology. That kills occasionally. I know that sounds silly, but you got to watch the show to really understand. But he gets away again, and it ends really well. And I am hooked, and I want to watch season 4. I want to see what they bring. So I'll just go through the things that I liked. I liked the direction they went at the end. I think it was different, and I think it was pretty shocking just the way they went. The cinematography, as always, I know Tommy can attest to this. Yeah. It is beautiful in this show. It is probably, out of all the shows, it is probably one of the best shot shows that Netflix does.
Oh, yeah.
As far as cinematography goes, the experimental cuts, the blurred backgrounds and everything, the way they do things, it's just pretty new in the landscape of Netflix because it's truly a movie on the small screen with 10 episodes in it,
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then, gosh, I don't like her character, but man, oh man, Gwyneth Paltrow, I think it's her name, who plays Love.
No, Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she plays Potts.
Oh yeah, that's my bad. That's my Victoria Pendretti. I don't know how I got those names mixed up. But Victoria Pendretti plays Love Quinn. She is probably the best actress in this entire series. I know she was only in season 2 and season 3, but man, she is incredible. You really think it's like with Joe, you've kind of seen Penn Badgley play on Gossip Girl, so he's not really that creepy dude, known as that creepy dude all the time. Like once you see him in this way, you always think he is, but like he really isn't. Like he plays a very sympathetic man in Gossip Girl, but in this show he's a creep. But Victoria Pendretti, you really believe that the actress is actually like that when really she's not in reality, but like she plays the part so well that it's just so real. You could just feel it. And just, man, it was I think it was great all around. I would rate it 7.5 out of 10. And out of
Mhm.
the 3 seasons, I would rank this at second. So I would go season 2 at number 1, season 3 at number 2, and then season 1 at number 3, if that makes sense. So I liked it. Wasn't better than season 2. Season 2 really changed things up, and gosh, like that one caught everybody. Like the shocker at the end that Love the whole time was just like Joe, but she
Mhm.
was doing it behind the scenes and was a lot shiftier than Joe. And there's just a lot of other themes that we could get into in just a minute, but I want to hear Tommy's thoughts. I don't want to go on too big of a spiel.
Mhm.
Tommy, what are your thoughts of what I just said,
Mhm.
and like what were your thoughts of the show?
Yeah, great introduction, Brennan. Yeah, I honestly agreed with pretty much everything that you said. Season 1, I watched the first half of season 2, and I did get bored. Maybe I should have plowed through it just because you said it's the best. Now I'm like really interested. But I watched the first half of season 2, and they go through a recap at the beginning of season 3. So I was honestly so up to speed with everything. The only thing that I didn't quite understand was like who 40 was, because he was only
Yeah,
in season 2.
yeah,
And he wasn't he didn't have a huge role in season 3, but like there were, which like when she was in the bathtub and she was texting
yeah,
him and then she saw him,
yeah,
like there were parts where I was like, okay, if I knew 40 more as a character, I might, feel
yeah,
for love more. But um still though, I understood everything in season 3. Yeah, let's talk about it though. So I knew we were going to review this when we first started watching it because we talked about it. And here's the first thing I wrote down in my notes app. Which there's a lot. Because there's a lot to unpack with this show, but this is the first thing I wrote down. Let me,
it's all
so I
good.
said the show is called You because it's never about Joe. Joe is
Wow.
just our voice, and so Joe never goes me. You hardly ever hear Joe say me, me, me. He only says you, which is obvious that it's not a huge thing, but that's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to say is it's never Joe's fault. It's not my fault for killing this person. It's not my fault for being abusive.
Yeah.
It's your fault. It's you.
Yeah.
You're the reason I'm killing people. And it's like,
Yes.
whoa. Like that's the main thing I got from season 3. The show isn't called You because he goes, "Who do I want? I want you."
Yeah.
It's really called You,
You would think it'd be about that,
right?
you know?
Yeah, but it's really called You because it's always your fault. It's because of you,
Hmm.
which is so false, obviously. But like, man, that makes for some great TV. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Uh, but geez, man. So a character I like hated at the beginning was Sherry, played by Shalita Grant. Like she was really annoying. Um, but then I like really fell in love with Sherry. She was just like, at first I didn't like her. She was really over the top, and not because Shalita Grant, you're an incredible actress. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about your character here. She was way over the top. Whenever she was on the screen, I was really annoyed, and she was fake, obviously, when it came to the murder of Theo's mom. What was Theo's mom's name?
Uh, Natalie.
Natalie, yeah. She was like obviously fake when it came to the murder of Natalie, like hashtag, whatever, Team Natalie or whatever. But um towards the end of the season, she was like it was like seeing a friend you haven't seen in a while. When she was on the screen, it felt like a nice warm hug. I was like, okay, finally, someone I can come back to that's like even though she's insane, like not insane at all, sorry. Even though she's annoying, she's like one of the most sane characters, which is saying something because she's crazy. Um, but man, dude. And then Marianne. So here's my issue though, and here's why the show. I would agree with your rating. I would agree. You said 7.5 out of 10.
Yes.
Okay. I I usually go with letters. I'd give it a solid B, maybe even a B plus.
Yeah.
And I give that this because here's the thing, Marianne. So Toddy Gabrielle is her name, the actress. Toddy, like Toddy. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sorry if you listen to this, but like you're a great actress. This is not what I'm about to say is not a knock on your acting. You are incredible, and I hope to see you in more projects in the future. Marianne, like you're just a librarian with a douchebag ex-husband. I
Yeah.
really don't see what Joe was so into with you.
Yeah.
Like, why would Joe went through all that trouble just to be with you, but then to not really be with you? It's just like, I don't know. It was just like, I don't know. I was like, really? This is who we're going for now? These last couple episodes, we're going for Marianne. I mean,
Yeah.
power to you, but like, imagine if he was going for like Sherry. That would have been like a really fun and interesting show. Like, cause she's like really over the top and annoying, but he falls in love with her, which I guess somewhat happens right in episode 8, which we will get to. But I don't know. But I was kind of like, Marianne's just so meh of a character.
Yeah.
She's a cool girl. I would be friends with her in real life, but is she worth all this? Like what is Joe doing? What do you think about that, Brandon?
I think it's so in this one, Joe was intellectually into this girl. So we just looking at Joe's previous relationships with all these girls.
Yeah.
So we look at Guinevere. Well, we start with what
Beck.
do you call it? No, not Beck. Before
Beck,
her,
right? We're talking about the
Candace.
season 3.
Candace, season 1.
Season 1.
Candace,
Okay.
the girl that's loosely mentioned throughout the show.
Yeah, you're right.
So Candace, we see that he's really just visually attracted to her. The way he bumped into her, he just like saw her, thought she was cute, and just went from there. Same with Guinevere Beck. He was just obsessed with the outside and tried to change her from within, which is how we saw him kind of mold her into like a martyr, really, for her work. And she became the world famous writer because of Joe. It wouldn't have happened because of Joe. And I know that sounds terrible, but like that's how the show paints it. And then we see love, and we see this is the first girl. And yes, Joe had a relationship with another lady in season 1, one of his neighbor's friends, but I think that was a phase. He was just getting over Guinevere Beck. But the next one, love. Joe is intellectually into her because she is different. She is
she's really just him in female form.
Yeah. He thought so, but not in the way that he thought.
Right.
And then it ended up being his carbon copy in female form. That's literally what it was.
Yeah.
And then Delilah, again, just a girl that he was into physically. So that doesn't really count. It's not really a relationship. So he has to stick with love. And it's somebody that he's not in love with because it reminds him too much of himself. Because to Joe, in his mind, he is not a bad person because he kills for those in whom he loves. Yeah. He doesn't kill because like he's trying to
for the thrill of it, Yeah. Which was like a really serial killer
tactic.
Thing.
Yeah.
They kill for the thrill.
Well, I wouldn't even say Joe really does that. Joe kills.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he doesn't kill for the thrill. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so he meets this girl, Natalie, and he likes her for her intellectualism. But first episode in, which I love that they killed her off for first episode. I thought that was real because they were hyping her up in the trailers, and I was like, okay, here we go. And she was in the last scene of season 2 to hype up the next season. Like he was looking at her through a crevice in his backyard.
Yeah.
He was checking her out from afar. So we're like, okay, who's this new girl? And then she gets murdered first episode. So I thought that was cool how they did that. And then he meets Marianne, and Marianne to Joe, like, this is not, like, I'm not going to comment on Marianne's looks, but Joe is attracted to her, obviously. But this is the first girl, in my opinion, that Joe is fully in love with. Because this girl doesn't have any skeletons in her closet. She does, but Joe looks at him. He's like, okay, this isn't really that bad.
Yeah.
She had some drug use in her past, but he sees that she's abused by her ex-husband. And yeah, and he is intellectually in love with her. The conversations that they have while they're in the library and just about all the books and everything and how much time they spend together. Joe, because let's not forget, the first girl Joe saw was Natalie. And Natalie left that book for Joe, was flirting with him loosely, invited him over for a drink. That was the first girl that Joe noticed. But then as he got to know Marianne, he fell in love with her because of their intellectuality with each
Yeah.
other. But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry to go on that spiel, but yeah, so that's basically my response.
Long story
Marianne,
short, it sounds
yes,
like that's why he's in. You're dancing around a theory as to why he's into
yes,
Marianne, which is I think that theory's a great theory. It's the first girl he's in love with because she doesn't have skeletons in her closet. I mean, drug abuse, big whoop, and then she's got a kid already. Well, so does Joe, and then
yeah,
she has those like nude pictures, I guess. But she was
yeah,
married to the guy she sent them to, so like that's
yeah,
totally okay because
yeah,
she sent them to him. Because you're
yeah,
married, like
yeah,
so. That's a very good theory, and the best thing about theories is that theories aren't right or wrong. I mean, even if I was like, hey, I have a theory that grass isn't green, it's actually blue, but humans can't comprehend.
yeah.
Like
Well,
it'd be like, okay, you're like that's a really outrageous statement, but I guess it's not wrong to a sense, right? But um,
what
that's it.
makes
Yeah.
you think I'm wrong in this sense? Just to put it in shorter terms, like why do you disagree?
Oh, I guess I don't disagree. I, I just am looking for more.
Yeah,
I don't disagree. It's just like, okay, if that's the reason, like, really? Like,
yeah,
her, bro? Like, there's not someone that's like a little more exciting? Like, I get it, like, sexy librarian, that's pretty cool, but like, like,
yeah,
really? Really?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely
Anyways,
something out. There's like just one more comment and then we'll move on. The thing about me, and you probably know this really well with film, is like with a show like you, there's a lot of action, there's murder, so that's going to
yeah,
be like the eye popping stuff. And as guys, just girls tend to be better listeners than us guys. We watch and we see.
mhm,
So when we watch a show like you, we're focusing on the action and what's going on, but it's not until the second or third time we really focus on the dialogue. And I was kind of like you, like at the end of season one, I was like, what's so special about Marianne? But as I've listened more and more to the dialogue between Joe and Marianne, I see why he fell in love with her. And then I
yeah,
didn't know why Joe went to Paris,
right,
you know, but I like through watching it again, I found out Marianne lived there for a while. That's why she's able to speak French in that one scene. And she
mm,
tells him that she lived in France for a while. So that's why he's looking for her in France, because he feels like she left the country or something. But I'll leave it at that.
yeah,
Great
yeah. That's a
show.
great theory.
I'm glad you liked it too. I know you weren't a big fan at the beginning, but I'm glad the second part really won you over, or really the last three
Well, I
episodes.
would say I would say the beginning is what hooked me in because had the beginning been boring, I would have been like, okay, I'll just watch this because we're in Dallas. But the begin, so here's okay. So real quick, I guess here's why I give it like a B. Um, the ending it was a bit repetitive, a bit rushed. It was innovative. I liked it. It was cool, and it was honestly like almost emotional. Like I felt so bad for Love because she
Yeah,
she finally escaped her demons. She found a husband, and obviously knowing what we know now, this isn't true. But for the time being, she found a husband that they're in love. They have a child. They live in a beautiful home in San Francisco, in a beautiful suburb, a beautiful neighborhood. They have, they're both very good looking people. They have money. Love's like, okay, I've beat my vices. I beat my demons. I finally can live a happy life. And you can, and the very last episode, she's starting to cry and freak out because Joe took uh, Carrie's adrenaline that he left during episode 8, which we didn't get in episode 8, but because I'm actually glad we didn't. If you are going to watch any episode of this season, watch episode 8. It is the funniest episode ever. It is so funny and awkward, and I loved every minute of it. Anyways, and you guys will understand when I say this. Carrie left his adrenaline. Joe took it. That way he could beat the
the
thing that
potion that she
makes you
made.
paralyzed.
Yeah,
Yeah. and like whatever Love tried to do to him to paralyze him. And when Love finds out, she's just trembling, and her lips are like shaking. It's just, oh, it was so sad because it was like she just wanted that life, man. And Joe just couldn't, for lack of a better term, he just couldn't pull through for her. He just had to go on to the next thing, and he just couldn't just settle down. And so that was really sad to see, almost emotional, almost made me tear up. I was like, man, I feel so bad for Love, man. She
Yeah.
just wanted that life back that she finally thought she had.
Yeah, and that
And
Taylor Swift song really hit hard too. While like Joe was like dressing the scene, you know.
Yeah, man, that was tough. And then but that dinner scene was awesome. That's like, I'll never forget that dinner scene. And then back to what you're saying about Marianne, we kind of know he's into her because he even says it himself. He literally says it himself in like episode 5, mommy issues. Oh, I'm in love with her because mommy issues. And it's like, okay, yeah, she's like a mommy. She's a mother, and she kind of treats Joe like a mommy at the library, like a mommy in the sense of like, Joe, you need to do this, you need to do that, don't do this, don't do that, like kind of, mothering. And I really liked how we had further knowledge of his mommy issues during the flashbacks of him at school getting picked on, and then he ended up killing his father for his mother, and the very last episode, his mother's like, I don't know, I just can't really be your mom anymore. And then that nurse that like took care of him. So there's a lot to unpack with season 3, and we've actually been doing pretty good on time. So I'm going to make sure we stay this way. And it is the finale, but we want to respect your time. There's a lot to unpack with season 3. We've touched, and guys, we've honestly just touched the bare minimum. Like, there's so much more we could have talked about regarding season 3, but like, that's kind of just our quick thoughts. If you guys, our most viewed episode is the Outer Banks season 2 episode, at least on like, we have an app and it gives us analytics, and that I don't know if it render or if it knows our YouTube views, but it is linked to our Spotify. As far as Spotify goes, our most watched or most listened to episode is the Outer Banks season 2 review, when we reviewed that. So, if pattern continues and you guys really love this season 3 episode, we'll hit you guys with an even more detailed episode. We'll go deeper into the thoughts, because it's all about you, and no pun intended, it's all about you. It's all about you guys, though. Like, this show's for y'all. We want to give y'all what you want to hear. So, yeah. But season 3, it's got a positive score from the both of us. Definitely not a negative score. Go check it out. Yeah. Season 3. Thank you, Brandon, for your thoughts. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
I'm glad I had a good knowledge of the show to back me up there. So next is the French Dispatch, a Wes Anderson film that just came out. I was able to get an early screening because it's not out yet in the US of A until the 28th, worldwide at least, or not worldwide, but nationwide. Wes Anderson, director of Fantastic Mr. Fox, Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs, The Royal Tenenbaums with Ben Stiller. That's a good one. Well, it's a fun one. Moonrise Kingdom. Wes Anderson, fellow Houstonian over here. Fellow Houstonian filmmaker. Went to St. Thomas High School. That's where, and he filmed one of his movies there, Rushmore. How is his newest film, The French Dispatch, which is starring, goodness, I think it would take up the rest of the episode if I named the entire cast, but Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Frances McDormand, Catherine Moss, Le Chédot, however you pronounce it. I know it's French, so you'll have to excuse me. That was my best try at French, so I know it was horrible. She was in No Time to Die, the main girl that was in love with Bond in No Time to Die. Yep. She's in that. I mean, goodness gracious, like, a lot of people in this movie. Jeffrey Wright was in this film, like Willem Dafoe. I could go on and on. The French Dispatch was loaded. Owen Wilson. I mean, okay, I'll stop. But this movie was just loaded with actors, and that is usually a recipe for disaster. Like, a lot of those films that are loaded with actors usually flop. the French Dispatch wasn't a flop by any means. I had a good time with the French Dispatch, but that's the most I can say is that I had a good time.
And the last duel didn't flop, and it had a lot of big actors in there.
Yeah, it had about four.
Yeah, and this one has closer to 10. So.
Oh yeah, if even yeah, but yeah, good point. The last duel, I mean, it had just a handful of good actors, but still, that wasn't a flop at all. But yeah, French Dispatch, it was a good film, and that's the most I can say. It was a good film. With Wes Anderson, if you've ever seen Fantastic, I mean, it's hard. I don't even. It's like saying, just defining Fantastic Mr. Fox as a Wes Anderson film is like defining The Dark Knight as a Christopher Nolan film. It's just yeah, it's their film, but it's so much more than that. So I won't use Fantastic Mr. Fox as an example of this, but Grand Budapest Hotel, Moonrise Kingdom, and Royal Tenenbaums. Wes Anderson is known for his symmetry. Every shot is a picture. Every shot is the symmetry is just on point. Everything is so square, so perfect looking. He shot this in a 16:5 aspect ratio. Really beautiful. He shot this in a really beautiful aspect ratio, and then there were parts too where he expanded that a little bit to maybe emphasize what he was saying. So that was pretty cool too. Let me look right here. Yeah, 4:3. So there was sometimes it was in a 16:9, but mainly it was in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which was super
interesting.
Awesome. Super awesome to see. Which is more square for anyone that doesn't know. So that was here. With the
sorry, can you repeat that again? So is it similar to the Justice League, the way that was shot?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And Justice League might have even been a
little thinner,
a little wider than 4.4
and a
4:3 aspect ratio, but I don't know, Justice League. Let me see, because
I think it was because I think their whole thought of that is because a lot of the heroes in the DC fly up and down, so that's just they thought that was better with the aspect ratio to be shaped that.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And it is in 4:3. I just looked it up. If for some reason, I mean, that film is so big and grand, so it feels wider than 4:3. That film is huge. But yeah, it is in a 4:3 aspect ratio. So so is every single one of Wes Anderson's films. I think maybe besides Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox, because those are animated films. How was the movie? I keep kind of dancing around it. Thomas, just get to it. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to set you guys up because there's a lot you need to know before we go into this. So the movie, and this isn't a spoiler, but the movie is told in 3 stories. So there's Bill Murray, another big star in this movie. Bill Murray is, he's the guy, he owns the French Dispatch, and they send newspaper stories to Kansas. And he needs to get out 3 stories, right? And so he's got these writers he's trying to give 3 stories to. And the first one is about Benicio del Toro and Leah Sedil. Once again, forgive me if I'm butchering that. And their love story about him being a painter in prison. Adrian Brody tries to hook him up with a big, it's your big shot. You can be a famous painter, but he doesn't really want that. Benicio del Toro doesn't really want that. And so they kind of get in a duel, and it's funny. It's just a funny little short snippet, almost like a mini movie. Then the second one, you've got Timothy Chalamet and Frances McDormand in that one. And then that one's kind of about how Timothy Chalamet he wants to be a famous writer. And he wrote a manifesto during a protest. And then the third one's about Jeffrey Wright and how he saved a kid. He was a cop, and how he saved a kid in a very unique fashion. A kid that was kidnapped by here we go, Edward Norton, another big star. This film just goes on and on. But so the movie's told in 3 stories. The first story, the first story I gave a B plus. I liked the first story. I really appreciated the cinematography in that one specifically, as well as the pacing. Second story with Timothy Chalamet and his manifesto. I wanted to be a writer during the protest. I gave a B plus. I'm a Timothy Chalamet sucker, so that was not an easy B plus, but I wish it was better. And then the third one I gave a B because it was just okay. The one with Jeffrey Wright being a cop, saving the boy from being kidnapped. And then I gave this film an overall B because it was
Okay.
just okay. And
What do
that's
you
the
think
thing.
could have been better? What could have put it at A minus in your opinion?
Yeah, it's just storytelling, and that's the sad part with Wes Anderson films. And if you guys have me on Snapchat, I posted this my review yesterday. That Wes Anderson films kind of just make up what they lack for, in storytelling. They make up with visuals. Now with this film, the visuals are dialed back a little bit. It's not Wes Anderson's most visual film, and the storytelling is not dialed up or down. It's just kind of the same. And it's tough when you make a film as incredible as the Grand Budapest Hotel. It's kind of tough to top that. Because I mean that's just a freaking film right there, visually and storytelling. Very fun film, but yeah, this film it wasn't a bad film by any means. A B is a great rating. That's a great rating. Like that's a really it was a fun night for me. The audience was really into it. They were laughing a lot. It was great. But it's just not Anderson's best. And if you're a director, you're trying to continue to make your best, as well as make a good story, right? So I wasn't upset at all that I went to go see it. And in fact, I encourage others to go and see it. It was a great movie. It was a good movie. It was a good movie, but still not what I want from Wes. He's coming out with a new movie though. Margot Robbie, I believe, is the lead of that film. So we will see what happens there. But you know, fellow Houstonian, I love him because he's from Houston, but just need a little bit more in the story telling department. Here it is, you guys. Maid season 1. So Maid is a Netflix show. This is going to be our last little segment here for pop culture until we see in season 3. But Maid season 1. So this is another Netflix special with Margaret Qualley. She was in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you've ever seen that one, she's one of Charles Manson's like cult girls. How was Maid? It was awesome. So in the film,
Ooh.
so the show, it's about Margaret Qualley. She has a child. Her husband's he's abusive, and she's in houses for a living, and she's just trying to live her best life. And so it shouldn't be interesting. Kind of a not a lame story, but just not one that's like, oh, that needs to be on TV, right? Because it's kind of like your typical average American these days. Um, but man, I found it to be incredible. Like what could go wrong went absolutely wrong. Um,
Oh.
and it was a great show. Like if anyone's looking for just a deep dive of a show, we talk about cinematography, and it's there for this film because it's based, I believe, in Washington, maybe Washington, Oregon, maybe even Alaska too, but somewhere where it's really cold in the mountains. Um, if you guys need, a show to watch on like a rainy Sunday afternoon, you got to watch Maid. It'll put you in your feels because it's just a real show. It just keeps it real about how hard it is to be a single parent with an abusive ex-husband, trying to just make the best life you can for your daughter. And your mom's a little crazy. Her mom in the show has got mental health issues, and she's just trying her best, and everything seems to be going wrong. And once something goes right, she gets hit with something that goes wrong. So, anyways, this isn't as big of as a section of tonight, but tonight's episode, I just really wanted to shout out Maid season 1 because it's an awesome show. Like it had me hooked, it had me sold, and it shouldn't have had me sold because it's not. When you say it like that, it's not the most interesting story, but when you watch it, and you got to trust me here. When you watch it, it's incredible. Margaret Qualley, man, she's awesome. So yeah, got to check out Maid. Great show, Netflix original. And it's ranked. So first is Squid Game. Duh. Actually, no. First right now is You. It's the new season of You. Second is Squid Game, and then third is Maid. So it's up there. I hope it's getting recognition, but Maid is incredible. Check it out. Great show, great cinematography, great acting, really awesome script, incredible writing. I love it.
Well, cool.
And sad to say it, but that is it. Last night in Soho, You, French Dispatch, and Maid, and that's gonna wrap up October. I'm
Yes,
watching
sir.
Antlers when that comes out. I believe that comes out this weekend, in my area, which hopefully it does. I would be really blessed if it does. So I will be watching Antlers as well as Eternals. I think,
November 4th, I
yeah,
believe.
I think and so I actually got an early screening invite to Eternals as well.
Nice.
So I will have watched that early, and I can, if you guys want me to post that on an Instagram story, let me know because that will be during our off week. But it never, when it's our off week, we're still putting in work. So, um, there are films coming up that I am going to be watching during our break. There will be a handful. And Titan, like I watched Titan, and that's probably my second favorite film of the year. It's a French film by Julia De Caro. You have to excuse me. I know her first name's Julia. If you want a really W WTF is going on film, watch Titan. It's spelled like Titan with an E
Wow.
at the end. It's on Amazon. It's not free on Amazon Prime, but you can rent it for like $7. Titan, that's a freaking film. That film is incredible. So I am watching films behind the scenes. So you guys are gonna get my input on a lot of that, I promise. But until then, I love you guys. Season 3 is gonna be so much better than season 2, and season 4 will be so much better than season 3 as we continue to improve our craft and give you guys the best quality and with the best news possible. So really appreciate all that you guys have done for us as far as listening and being loyal, especially in the pop culture section. You guys have been letting me know how you feel about what we talk about, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. And that's gonna wrap up season 2 of pop culture. October is over. So it's been fun, man. It's been the month has definitely lived up to the hype. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna come back even stronger in November. So
Absolutely. And
a lot of
definitely a
November
lot to
films.
look forward to in pop culture in November. We got a few movies in there. Maybe we'll cover the Spider-Man movie. I don't know. Maybe that'll be season 4. No idea. But man, it's going to be a great month, and I think there's a lot of music coming out, so be expecting a lot more music talk from us in this upcoming season.
Yeah.
But give it up for Tommy. He did it incredible as always, and just thankful here at Hot This Week. Just for y'all being such a great fan base and just listening to our thoughts. Thank you guys so much. I'll just run a little quick spiel just to talk about what's coming up on Thursday. So Tommy and I, what kind of inspired the birth of this podcast is that Tommy and I get in some, I wouldn't call it arguments, but debates over text, over certain teams, if they're good or not. Some of it is petty, some of it's not, mostly on my part, but we're going to be kind of incorporating that into next episode. So we'll do our usual, we'll do our picks, we'll do everything, but we're going to include a segment. Are the Lakers safe or not safe?
Oh,
That's what the topic's going to be. So that's going to be good. We all know how Tommy feels about LeBron and his Lakers. We all know how I feel. So it's going to be a great show. So stay tuned for that. Besides that, college football had a good weekend. Shocking loss for the Ravens. Not trying to rub that in, Tommy, but
yeah.
that was pretty shocking just to see how good the Bengals are, because the Ravens will get another shot at the Bengals. Like, that's going to happen.
Right.
They'll get another shot, but man, you got to give it to these Bengals, man. They're turning things around really quick with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase now. So
True.
I am excited to see where that goes. We'll definitely talk about that later, and stay tuned at the end of our season finale for sports and just in general for season 3. We're just going to give y'all a little bit of something that's coming up new in season 3 or in the next couple weeks. It's something outside of our podcast, so stay tuned for that. But that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a great season finale, definitely worth the wait. I'm glad we got 4 films in for our season finale, so expect even greater things in season 3. We're very excited. Tommy, any final thoughts?
Nah, man, that's about it for me. I just really appreciative of everyone who's listened, and like there was a lot writing on this season as far as films go, and I love how it lined up with the end of October being the end of our season, because that would be really awkward if it ended like in the middle of October, because we still had like so many great movies to go. So that's perfect timing. We did not plan that, by the way. You
Yeah.
guys, it just kind of fell into our lap. So yeah, really couldn't time that any more perfect. But so much more films coming out. This isn't the end of it. It is the last, big section. But now we have these big films that are more spaced out, which could be a blessing as far as the podcast goes. So they give you guys some time to breathe, because we've just been hit. I've just been hitting you guys with just back to back film, and rightfully so. And they've been great films, but man, yeah, it's a little more spaced out now. And then, of course, I mean, whether you're a Marvel fan or not, you're going to be watching that Spider-Man film in December. And of course, we are going to be covering that early. That will be out early. I will be reviewing that early for you guys, because you guys know I want you guys to hear it here first. Wow, that was a mouthful. But without further ado, you guys, as always, until season 3, my name is Thomas Hicks.
And Brandon Matula.
And we will see you guys tomorrow for sports.
Bye.
And we're off.